Ilo is situated on the island of Panay, normally not a very disastrous region, as this map points out. And the city is built up of several centers around the river delta. One of these centers, Haro, flooded severely last summer in 2008, and the water came up to about 16 feet. And this kind of flooding used to happen only once every 50 years, but it's now taken place twice in the last 20. What happened was that the rain fell upstream in the mountains and accumulated because of the so-called beaver dams. These are not really made by beavers, but consist of dead plants, plant materials, and other kind of debris and things that fall in the water. The water builds up on several different places, but when the dam collapses, you get a snowball effect, and the water comes down at the same time. And this resulted in the heavy floods of last summer. Now, the damage to the houses on the riverbanks was actually not so big. We visited these Yarrow riverbanks, and local market vendor Ramon was so kind as to show us around. The water rose very quickly, which forced people onto the roofs and made roads and bridges inaccessible. And once the water retreated, a thick layer of mud, or silt as they call it here, remained. Now, half a year later, all that was visible were the watermarks on the houses. Not many people were displaced, and although the government does not encourage living on the riverbanks and tries to house some squatters towards the outside border of the city, we believe that the bulk of the people will actually stay here. Now, that would be alarming if Ilo would not have initiated a flood control system. This consists of two canals that cut the river off before it leads to the city and brings it to the sea. This project started before Frank hit and is well underway, and the main problem now is the funding, which comes through from the national government. The banks of these canals are still vacant, and the city planners told us that they will remove any squatters, but there is no real design for the banks, and we signify that this could become a problem in the future. Another big project for the future is a ring road that is supposed to assist metropolitan development and decentralize the city. In this scenario, the island of Iloilo will become a Manhattan and will tie different town centers together into a metropolitan area. A new airport outside of the city has been planned as well. In our view, Typhoon Frank did not have any major spatial impact on the city of Iloilo, and the damage here again was mainly agricultural. Next to that, the city was developed enough to recover efficiently and to invest in the future, so that the threat of future floods is practically eliminated. Once the floodway is finished, the city can develop into a metropolis. Our conclusion is that it would be very interesting to study Iloilo, but that this research would not be directly disaster related, nor would we be assisting the people in most need. For that reason, we will leave Iloilo for what it is. 2006 was a very dramatic year for Legazpi, for it was successfully hit by 3 typhoons. Remming was the worst, but it came right after the heavy Milenio. Wind speeds increased up to 250 km per hour. This region is well known for being at risk of typhoons, but 2006 indicated a strong increase in this phenomenon. The Legazpi-Daraga area folds itself around the south part of the Mayon volcano, along the national highway leading from Manila to Mindanao, down south. This road runs through Daraga and connects the port of Legazpi with a branch off. It's one of the poorer and denser regions of the Philippines and consists of more than 700 barangays, that being communities. The volcano is among the most active in the world, and its last eruption was only in 2006. On unclouded days, smoke can be seen coming from it. The frequent deposits of the volcano provide for a very fertile soil, but there is a downside. The soil is very loose and it washes away along with heavy rains. A number of rivers run down as well, and the riverbeds are very unstable. Landslides coming down from volcanoes are called lahars, and they form a big threat to surrounding barangays. To add to the overall problem of a typhoon, many lahars destructed and covered whole communities during Remming. Mayon is a local word for beautiful, and the volcano is called that because it's perfectly cone-shaped. It's 2,460 meters high and has an unbuilt radius of about 8 kilometers. That is the radius from where the soil is flat and stable enough to support constructions. It is simultaneously the place where the soil is stable enough for the road leading from Legazpi to the national highway. This road has been constructed with the shortest path in mind, and successively many barangays have organized themselves around that road. So now, one of the most dangerous places is one of the most densely populated. Because the volcano is so perfectly shaped, the lahars are very unpredictable. There is no difference between the slopes. When ramming came, wind speeds increased up to 240 km per hour. The air was heavy with rain and caused big destructions. The rain fell and caused floods in the lower parts of the city, and whole barangays disappeared under the earth of the lahars. After the disaster, a number of things happened. Because the hit area was so close to the main road, media coverage was very wide. This resulted in a typhoon of NGO and aid workers from churches and other sources. Many new resettlement areas were constructed, and many are still under construction. Some citizens were able to reconstruct their homes on other locations, and some have even moved back to the landslide areas. Some houses are being built on top of roofs and buildings now covered in rubble. The national government installed a full-time disaster preparedness team, and the only one in the Philippines. Most disaster coordinating councils only focus on disaster response. Dams and dikes are being constructed to protect parts of the city from the lahars, but the strength of these is questionable. Only now the city is starting to catch up with all the recent developments, and as the city is bound to grow, plans are conceived of moving out to safer southwestern directions. For the reasons stated here, we have decided to deepen our research into Legazpi and stay there for 2 months.
Target, black, white, day, night. No one's fussy, I'm a target.